This time let me not forget to record. So I started recording. Okay, right. So this is where we stopped last time. Okay, so we were like talking about the so-called Arab science, or what is being called as golden period of Islam. So what all happened during that period, and we told all these people actually contributed so-called the second scientific revolution after the Greek one first. And then also talked about how many of the science fields which we are talking about today are actually being initiated at this time itself, including algebra, optics, alchemy, and all those things. Then I also talked by telling how the concept of light got changed. So though it looks simple, that was a very major finding. The finding that people were thinking that you are able to see an object because light from your eye is going and hitting that object. That was a concept, time immemorial. Okay, so I hope you also remember that we spoke about the basic thing about the what we call as astrology or Jyotishastra, like where people make hi Sujit, welcome. So we told how people used to make, like they used to look at, like, this is your birth time, and you tell that during your time birth time you have the Saturn on this side and your Mars on this side, so your life will be so much. So that is the funda of horoscope, right? So that is the concept of horoscope. But then the folly in that is, when you look at something, an object in the solar system or outside, actually that object is not there at that moment. So that's why we introduced that concept of space last time and told that time is a function of space. So if there is no space, there is no time. So it's a bit difficult to digest. So, like, if you look at Saturn, if something is happening in Saturn, you are not seeing that because from your eye something is going there. You are seeing that because the light from that object is coming to your eyes. So, how much is the time light takes to travel? That much is the difference between what you are seeing and what is actually happening there. So the more is the distance from you to an event, you will see that much later only. For example, sunlight takes 8 minutes to reach Earth, which means if sun bombards and no sunlight from there, we won't know it for 8 minutes. We won't know for 8 minutes that actually sun is bombarded. So that's why I was mentioning yesterday the concept of astrology, where the horoscope they tell, that is folly because of majorly two reasons. So reason number one is that all these planets, they tell that Saturn, Shenika, Abahar, and this Venus, Shukraka, Abahar, and all those things, that doesn't make any sense because your birth time, whatever they are calculating at that time, the position of those planets, actually, whatever we see, they are not in that position. So that is the first thing. And second thing is that they were thinking these all planets are actually emitting some kind of rays, and that is coming to you. And if you are born in Earth at that time, actually those rays are actually influencing your character. That's why in horoscope somebody will tell you will become an advocate, or you will marry and so age kind of stuff, extrapolating that things. But the thing is that there is no special rays coming from any of these planets. These planets actually just reflect the sunlight. So in solar system, there is only one source of light, which is sun, and you get direct sunlight. So what will Saturn can do to you, or what can Mars do to you? Okay, but then we also should not ridicule the people who have developed astronomy. and astrology, because at that time, that is what they were thinking. So to the best of their ability, they put some things which they knew at that point. So who should be beaten are the people today who take that and tell that this is science. They are the people actually whom we should whip. So not the original people who actually put this together, because they at that moment, whatever was the knowledge they had, they put together the systems. But today, when people tell that there is big science behind this and try to make it up, so that is when I think we have to put our foot strong and tell that, boss, either you be with science and send your kids to school, or you don't send your kids to school and then teach all the old books. That is applicable to, in fact, all texts, all religion, all sacred texts and all. So that we should not ridicule something which happened some time back, but holding that as the sacrosanct truth today is where the problem lies in. Okay, so I want to make that distinction. Okay. Omkar is asking, is there a network problem? Are you not able to hear me? Okay. So probably Omkar might be having a network problem. Okay. Anyway, so this is what we told this scientist called Al-Hassan or Ibn al-Hasham. So you may not hear much about him, but actually he is supposed to be the first experimental scientist. So that's what I was telling in the last session. The 1,000 years back, in year 1015, 1,000 years back, is when he conducted that major experiment to prove that you are able to see something because light from that object is coming to your eyes. So that is a very simple experiment, as I told in the last session, that there was a dark room. He kept an object in the dark room and looked at it from outside, and he can see that. And then he lit a small candle and kept it inside that dark room, and then onwards you can see the object. So it's a very simple experiment which proves that the light from the candle goes and reflects from that object and comes to your eye. If the light was going from your eye, actually you are standing outside where light is there, you should be able to see the object in the dark room. So the point is, we will think why then such a simple experiment people could not do before. For that, you should go back to Aristotelian times. So that is where philosophy comes ahead of science. So in philosophically, when in the original days, people thinking that this world is made already by a superpower and you don't have to bother about it or you should not bother about it, then there is a problem, you won't find it out. And then when Socrates comes and Socrates questions that belief vitally that you have to question everything, then the who all believe in status quo, they try to attack Socrates. But then at least he brought it till that point that we should be questioning things. And then when it came to Plato, Plato told that there is something called an ideal universe, which is perfect geometry, and a human being's motto of life is to identify and understand that perfect or ideal world. So he changed that philosophy. Then that means people will start looking at identifying or trying to search for what is that ideal universe in geometry. Then when it comes to Aristotle, he tells that that alone is not sufficient. You have to go on earth where the show is happening, observe the things, and then you should figure out how is the universe functioning. So that is from where people started observing things, dissecting animals, observing leaves and plants. So philosophy actually, if you look at it, it walks ahead of science. So when that drift happens, is when people get a window open. So then when it came to Alhazen, he modified that by telling just observing things alone may not be sufficient. You will have to conduct some experiments, trials to find out something. So that might look simple to us, but that's a major shift. So, when if people are questioning you by telling who are you to conduct an experiment? Who are you to try to find out what is going on in earth where it is already figured out and written in the holy text? Then it will be difficult for science to develop. you know So that is where this experimental science becomes important. So Alhazen, I would believe that he's the first experimental scientist, though many people think or tell it is Galileo. Okay, Galileo took it into a different scale. So now one of the guy called Al-Biruni, which whom we told before. Actually, this is from his record, the Arab time. Okay, actually, this is the position of moon when moon rotates the earth. Okay, we'll think it is not very complicated, but it is a bit tricky. I'll come to that. Why it is tricky? It is tricky because you look at this. This is what happens. Like assuming this is the moon, this is the earth, this is the sun. So this is earth. Moon is rotating earth, right? But when moon is rotating earth, earth itself is moving and revolving around sun. So when we revolve, this moon is also actually rotating us. So these positions, you see these positions are the sunlight positions of moon. Sunlight positions. So if the moon is here, it gets the sunlight on the opposite half. So when we look at it, we see only the black side, which we call as Amavasi. And from there, the moon moves. So when the moon shifts, moon takes around 28 days approximately to rotate Earth. So when the moon shifts like this, if the position is like sun is here and moon is here, earth is here, we will get to see only a small portion of moon where light hits. See, from here when we look, we see majority of the black side, but we see a slight white side where light comes. That is this view. That is this view. Amavasi is this view. And then assume moon is here, which means we get to see around 50% of light moon because we see half as black, half as white light. So that is what we call as half moon. And then it moves and comes, and when moon is opposite to this position, it gets wherever it gets the sunlight, we get to see that part fully. Then it is like what we call as Paurnami, right? What we call full moon. But then there's a tricky stuff there. If you look at it, same thing repeats, right? You see, this is repeating, half towards sun, half towards sun. But here, if you see, here we see this side light. Here we see this side light. You get that? That's a bit tricky. Okay, can you visualize? Why is it happening? See, this is like when moon is rotating like this position and this position are actually same. It gets sunlight on the half side, it gets sunlight on the half side. So we see half moon. But actually, if you see really moon, we see it will move like this. We see this half, then it will slowly full, then full, then we slowly start seeing the other side of the moon, other side half. This we see this side and this we see this side. But here the positions are same. You understand? Can you think why it is happening? It's just a visualization part. It's a purely visualization. Are you getting the problem? So here and here, moon is same position. You see, half sunlight, half sunlight. But one quarter, we will see moon like this, this side light. The other quarter, we will see moon on other side light. Understand? So actually, that is because it is like how we see in mirror. Because people think mirror inverts something, right? That is the most people think mirror inverts the vision. That's what people think normally. In a mirror, if you look at it, it gets inverted. But actually, mirror doesn't invert. Mirror doesn't invert at all. Actually, it's your view which gets inverted. So if you look at the mirror and if you move your right hand, the same hand will be inverted. In the same hand, you can see the right side only. It won't be left side. You look at a mirror and show your hand like this. You will see this hand only. It won't be this hand. But the trick is you have turned this side. You have turned. So you see it the other way. It's like selfie when you take. When you take, it will look okay. This hand will be here. But when you view the selfie, you will see it ulta. You take a selfie and see, you'll see it ulta, like right and the left. You take a selfie and see. That is because the view is changed. So like people tell, when you write something and show it to mirror, it takes inverted. It doesn't take inverted because you are tilting it and showing to mirror. You take a paper, a transparent paper, and write something on that. Transparent paper and show in front of mirror, it will read perfect. Take a transparent paper and write something and show in front of the mirror, you will see the same image. You can read it. You are not able to read it because you are putting it ulta. So the same thing happens here. You are looking at mirror like this. Now you are looking on the back. Understand? So here you are seeing the bright portion on the left side. When you turn, again you are seeing this on the left side only, but now you are turned. Because moon has come to your back side.
It's a little complicated.
Actually, for you, I thought it should be easy. It is like, if you look at something, now if you hold something in your hand and keep it like this, let us assume this side, left side is one color. Left side is one color, right side is another color. Assume left side is white, right side is black. So you look at like this. So you see left side black. And when you turn like this and keep it, again you are seeing left side black only. But when you look it from outside, when you take a photo from outside, for them, here it was black here, for here now the black is changed to opposite side. Right? So here this view is you are in the earth. Now sun is here, now sun is shifted and coming on back side. So you have to visualize it. It is very difficult to tell it in as much words. You have to. It's a visualization problem. If you think of it, in fact, this will confuse me also before. Like how is it happening? Why is it happening? Because here you see this side, here you see this side. Actually, you are seeing the same side. This is kept here. That is only. Even mirror, you do this experiment. Mirror, you take a transparent paper, okay, and write something and show in front of the mirror. You can read it perfect. Okay, do that. So people think mirror actually changes the view. Mirror doesn't change the view. Yeah. Okay. So this one, you see now, he had figured it out at that time, much earlier. Okay. And this Banda, he is very smart, and he had come to India, it seems. And he is also another person who found out the diameter of Earth into a very precise manner. So what he did is, he was knowing the mathematics of it. He was knowing the mathematics of how to calculate the diameter of the earth, but he wanted to identify a plain land like this. So he wanted to have a mountain, and from the top of the mountain, when he looks, he has to see horizon. Horizon, why he wants to see horizon? Because from here, if you look, it will become like this. A light going through this pinnacle. He wants a straight line like this. You want to see this angle. So that means he has to get a place where there is a mountain and then a plain land, long land, like a film director. He was searching the whole world to get an area like that. And he found it out somewhere in today's Pakistan. A area where there is a mountain and there is a plain land. So he was traveling, and found it out. And then he climbed on the top of that mountain. And from here, he wanted to get horizon. So in this angle measurement I showed the last class, the astrolabe and all, you can do angle measurement. So from there, he caught this horizon and measured this angle. This angle, this whatever you see here, this alpha or A, he measured this angle. Okay, and then he calculated the height of this mountain, which actually you have trigonometrical techniques for calculating height of anything. There are some methods. You can measure the angle from 2 points and you can measure height of anything. So he calculated measuring the height of a mountain is not possible, right? Because you can't, you have to dig a line, you will get only the slope. So he calculated this using a method and he measured this angle. With that, he calculated the diameter of the earth. This was almost 1,000 years back. And that is close by around some 30 kilometers. Close by around 30 kilometers. Okay. It's actually like if you get this angle, you get this angle. This is 90 minus this angle. If this is 90 minus a angle, then this is again the same angle. So this actually becomes a triangle. So this earth, he made a triangle. He made a triangle out of earth with the center of the earth and this horizon part. So this is the current Pakistan, someplace I forgot the place in the long distance part. So he calculated and then he got this value, 6,339 kilometers. Okay, and the actual value varies because the earth is not perfectly spherical, so it changes. So he got so very close with this method. Okay, right. But brilliant idea, and I think he would have spent years of his life searching for this place, it seems. He also came to India and he translated the books from India. So he's called father of Indology. Father of Indology, which is the branch of studying India. Okay, so from here, we talked about two areas like Indian scientists and the Arab scientists in the last time. So that was, you see, around 1200, that means 13th century beginning. So after that is when slowly the Renaissance period starts, where the Medicis becomes the Florence mayor and the Duke of Florence, and the time of Petrarch. So slowly the Renaissance period starts at that time. Though there is a big difference which the church is trying to put forward nowadays by telling that the Dark Ages were not really dark, and the entire Renaissance and post stuff was actually fueled by their own development and all. But there are enough historical proofs that even people like Copernicus and all had referred to so much of books and documentation from the Arab science and also Indian science. So, like we told before, from Greek, so many things have come to India. From India, so many things have grown to Arab. From Arab world, so many things have come to Europe. And you see, in the Renaissance era, one of the most important inventions was Gutenberg's printing press. See, once the printing press was a reality, then they could, whatever was translated, they could take it out. And Catholic Church used to run so many of schools, actually, research institutes and schools. They were teaching all these translated books kind of stuff there. So that is the time he was a priest, actually. This gentleman, Copernicus, was a Polish priest. So he was very interested in astronomy. So he started using some of the tables from the Arab era. And from that, he developed certain idea of himself. And he is the person who wrote a book which categorically states that Earth is not the center of the universe like has been believed so far. So he is the person who documented it in a professional manner and wrote a book. So that is Book of Revolutions of Heavenly Spheres. But then he feared to publish it. He feared whether the clergy will oppose, because the clergy had made that, they had adopted that earlier model called Ptolemaic universe, that Earth is the center and sun and everything is rotating. So he feared. He feared so much that it is said that this book was released on the day when he died. So he did not have the wherewithal to release that and stand for it, maybe by fearing it. So this book came on his last day, it seems. That's what it seems. Okay. So which means during the time of Copernicus, that means the first, second century of Renaissance period, people were not knowing about this. And at that time, the spread of information was not going this fast. It was not going this fast. So till this time also, the mid of 16th century also, not many people were knowing about this. There is such a kind of stuff, but many people were talking about it. But it seems some of the priests and all were supporting Copernicus by telling you publish a book, we'll support and all those. So he put together this model like the model which we know now. Okay. And then he actually came with sort of explanations of why this is right. So he told about, you remember the parallax which we told in that class? So he told the stars are very far, very much far away and they are so big, that's why we are not able to observe parallax. Okay. And then he told that the sun is stable and because earth is moving, we are feeling like sun is coming from east and going in west. It's a feeling. And then the size of Mercury and Venus, which we explained in the last class. So he came with all the explanations for it. So he came with all the explanations. But then, actually, after his death, is Galileo is getting born. After his death, around 21 years, is when Galileo is getting born. So when Galileo was born, what he did remarkably was there was an instrument which was developed previously. So he advanced that instrument for seeing the thing. So till that time, you have to understand all the astronomy, whatever people are talking about, is with naked eye. Till the time of Copernicus also, what all they are telling is with naked eyes. Okay, it seems people used to come and sit in positions like this, specific places, and look like this. So they know what angle they are looking. So they will look like this and mark which position is each of this stuff, and then write like this, put dots. Next day they will again come and sit in the same position. Next day again same position. It's in 365 days. Someone will do like this and mark relatively where this comes, and with that is the entire astronomy and astrology till that day it is with naked eyes, each of every point. And but when the telescope was found, what Galileo did is Galileo modified the telescope with adding lenses and all those things so that he could see things much farther away. See, that is a big thing. Once you see things big, philosophically also, once you start seeing things closer, your ideas will change. Okay, when you see things from far, you will think something. So what looks like a good, beautiful lawn, when you go close to that, you will see a lot of ants going and then gap between the grass and all those things. You have to go closer to it. So from far away, you will have one view. From close by, you will feel another view. So Galileo, once he started having the telescope, he started observing the world like never before. So one of his first thing was he found there are 4 moons revolving Jupiter. Actually, Jupiter has some 80, 90 moons, but he identified that time 4 moons. And this actually is supposed to be the most compelling proof for geocentric universe. Geocentric means geo is sun, sun is the center. Sorry, geo is earth. Heliocentric means helio is sun, sun is the center. So from the geocentric to the transformation to heliocentric concept, this seems critical. Do you have any clue why should like 4 moon of Jupiter is important to prove that sun is the center? Does that strike any chord? Actually, this was huge. See, the only thing he found was Jupiter has 4 moons. Anything striking? Okay, so the point was that the faith was that earth is the land of gods and the prophets and all the sons of the gods. So everything has to rotate earth. So that was the prime belief. So nothing can be there to which earth has to rotate it, including sun. Okay, so sun was one of the gods. You have to see, sun was one of the gods. But then there are other prime gods. But this one proves that there are so many other things happening in the universe. Many people have their own moons and stuffs and all those things. You are not the only people where other things are rotating. So that was actually a killer finding. See, that actually gave an impetus to people by telling, oh, now we can think freely. Now we don't have that baggage of that kind of an ideological or a faith kind of baggage. And then he went on and he started observing Venus very closely. So you remember the view of Venus. He started observing Venus means, see, in this model, when you look from Earth to Venus, you can see different phases of Venus. Different phase means what? When you look from here, you see this part. And after some point, Venus can be here, Earth can be here. Then you can see other side. After some point, Venus could be here, Earth could be here. Then you can see the opposite side. So in the previous model, when Earth was the center and Venus was rotating Earth, you are supposed to see only one face of Venus. Every time you can see only one face of Venus. Understand? So he, with his telescope, he proved that no, I can see all the faces of Venus. Whatever we are seeing now, after some point, we are seeing the other side. And that is possible only when sun is set. So these two things actually sort of put the final nail on the coffin for the geocentric world. But then he had to pay a very heavy price for it. So he wrote this book called Dialogue on the Copernicus book, Copernicus idea. And again, he adopted the method of which was very prominent at that time, including Plato's Republic, as a conversation between many people. So it was like for people conversing because they fear to tell it in public. So he put one character as the person who is justifying the geocentric.
Now Prajakta will take class. Okay.
I'm sorry. So Prajakta started. Okay, should I mute?
Yeah, she started.
Okay, I will mute. Okay, Prajakta. Prajakta will approach this topic from the art side of it.
Yeah, some other way.
Prajakta, you're mute. Prajakta, mute. Mute, Prajakta.
No, you were saying about position of Venus.
Okay. So Prajakta is not giving any chance for any other discussion, so she thought straight away go to Venus. Okay, so it was the position of Venus. From this model, it is possible to see all the faces of Venus only through a heliocentric model. And he put this together in his book called Dialogue on Copernicus book. And that book, as I was mentioning, it was written as dialogue discussions between people. If I remember it, I think 4 people. And then one of the person is actually him. One of the person is Galileo. So he is presenting his argument. And there is another person who is presenting the geocentric model. And he refutes the argument one by one. Now, very different to our Arnab Goswami's channel discussions and all, you see. Like, he is only coming and presenting both sides views by telling, okay, geocentric bolo. Abhi you tell. It is not like when everybody is there, you telling, okay, nobody talk, I will tell. It is not that way. It's very this model. He is only presenting you, but also because he fears. They fear. So, but then what happened is the church took this very seriously. Church took this very seriously, and they took this as heresy. Heresy means opposing whatever is the divine knowledge. So they told him that you can't write like this, and this we don't allow. So Galileo tried to argue, but I did not write like this. It's most like a drama kind of stuff, and different people are telling, and this said view and all. This they did not agree. So he was prosecuted by Pope directly, and he was put under house arrest. And he was put under house arrest, and I don't know whether you have heard this famous dialogue. People don't know whether it is true or not. It seems when I think this was a famous painting also. It seems when his trial was done and they told that you have been punished for heresy, it seems in his language he told, when he turns back, yet it rotates. Still it rotates. They told Earth is stationary. Okay, I am telling Earth is stationary. If I am telling Earth is stationary, Earth is stationary. Understand, Mr. Galileo? You might be scientist, but I am the king. So that is the stuff. Okay, so Galileo, it seems he turned while going. He told, still it rotates. So that is in that word in their language. That is very famous quote. Actually, many people tell that is not there, but anyway. But then what happened is actually a very important thing. From then is actually the real Galileo came out. He was put under house arrest. When he was put under house arrest, it is like the quarantine comes and many artists are trying to reinvent themselves. So when Galileo was under house arrest, he started conducting experiments. He started experiments on different areas. And he started experiments on motion and pretty serious topics. And with that, he actually wrote another book. Though his health was deteriorating and all, he wrote another book called Two New Sciences. And it seems he did not publish it there. He took that book through hiding through another country, and there it published, so that nobody bans that. And the two new sciences, actually we call it as the base of modern science, modern physics. The two new sciences which he invented was, one is a science of motion. Science of motion. From there only Newton developed actually Newton's laws and all those things. And second is strength of material. Strength of material means, assume you have a motion, assume you have things coming, how strong your structure should be. Your building, a structure or steel, what should be, how to calculate, how strong concrete you require, how strong iron rod you require to withstand this much of. Actually, if you really look at it, these two are the base of today's science. You have all the construction, everything, you are able to do that. You are able to calculate the strength of these materials. And the motion, the car, the rocket, and all your movement, transport, everything is based on his concept of motion. Okay? Right. Okay, somebody's asking something. What is weight? Weight is a force. Weight is the force with which you attract Earth and Earth attracts you. So we'll come to that actually. We will come to that in big detail. Is it okay if you do at that point, if you cover at that point? Prajakta, is it okay if we cover it at that point?
Sorry? Huh?
Weight, it is coming actually in
Okay.
this. Is it okay if I cover at that point?
No, you can, you just mentioned about strength, now. So yeah, so in that I thought
It is, yeah, it is force.
related
Yeah.
to it. Huh.
So weight is a force between you and Earth. So Earth is attracting you, and you are attracting Earth. But Earth थोड़ा बड़ा है, थोड़ा नहीं, थोड़ा ज़्यादा बड़ा है. So when we go up, we fall down. Okay, though we think that we are stronger. So whether it is Ambani or Prajakta, if you fall from top, you will fall down because the force doesn't know that how much wealth you have. It is only depending on your mass and the distance between this the place where from you are falling and the earth. So it is the force with which earth is attracting you and you are attracting earth. Okay, so we'll come to that bit later. It's a good question because that is a very important thing in this thing. Okay. So I'll just tell about another guy who is supposed to be a bit of a maverick scientist at that time called Tycho Brahe. Okay, so Tycho Brahe, it seems he lived slightly later to Copernicus. So this gentleman, he was supposed to be a person who had conducted one of the maximum kind of like observatory measurements and experiments with naked eye. It seems he had 100 people to work with him. He had an island given to him to conduct all this astronomical observation. It seems he had 100 people. It seems he was a very rich person. So king had given him, it seems, one island, and you can collect tax there. He had a big observatory. So he had so much of data. This Tycho Brahe had so much of data with him. So with his data, whatever he has, actually he developed a model. But you see, this is happening after Copernicus, but he had not read much about Copernicus, that those knowledge does not communicate that quickly. So he got everything right, but he did not believe that Earth can rotate sun. He told everything is rotating sun, but then sun is rotating Earth. No, like you see that faith is so strong. They fear to tell. To tell that means to believe that. So you are not able to think beyond it. Not able to think beyond that. But then he is also very a maverick character, as I said. The story is that it seems he had a bet with another person in a party. So it seems that time they decided that we will settle the bet by fighting with sword at night. Okay, like we also had in our history and all. People decide, okay, now we have a problem. Chalo, come to the ground. We will fight with the sword. So whoever wins, they win, kind of stuff. So it seems in that fight at night, it seems his nose was cut. So the story was that he replaced it with golden nose. Okay, he had a gold nose. So he's a scientist with the gold nose was his stuff. But then one day he died. He died, and people were thinking that he is murdered because there was poison in his body. So when that happened, it obviously pointed the fingers to one of his close disciples. So there was a person who had joined him a couple of years back to do science experiment, who later went on to become one of the biggest, tallest names in science. So he obviously, this Tycho Brahe had rich amount of data, astronomical data. So the suspicion went on his disciple. So this disciple's name is Johannes Kepler. Johannes Kepler. So this Kepler later actually developed pretty important sub principles which we will tell. So there was rumor that it is Kepler who killed Tycho Brahe. So after some point, they dug his body again and they exhumed it and they did the postmortem analysis at that time, some time back, maybe I think few centuries back. And they at that time, they I think proved that some poison has gone inside. And this guy used to do a lot of alchemical experiments and all. Maybe at that time, some silver or poison went inside. That was what they think. But then in that world, that part of the world, now like people will dig back and there is no depth for rumors. Some 10 years back, again, few years, many people were telling, we want to find out who killed Tycho Brahe. Okay, the nation needs to know who killed Tycho Brahe. So the clamor went up, and they dug it. I think 2010 or so, some 10 years back, they did re-postmortem of Tycho Brahe's body again. But then came up with 2-3 important findings. So one finding was that it seems he died by bursting his bladder. It seems he was sitting in a party with king or duke or something. So he was a very polite person. So he didn't feel like he was feeling to piss. So he didn't walk and go by thinking, these people will get offended. His bladder burst. So that is the thing, it seems, is the current reason, the current derived reason. And they added one more thing by saying actually his nose is not gold, it is some brass or something. Okay, that is a trivia inside that. But the long and short is Johannes Kepler is actually exonerated today. But Tycho Brahe is considered as a very maverick scientist, had many passions, partying, this, that, and all. But he had his own contribution also. But then Johannes Kepler, when it came to Johannes Kepler, what Johannes Kepler did, you know, now this 15th century, 16th century, and all those things. This is the time you see now Da Vinci, his that polymath concept, his that famous drawings and the inscriptions in church. So many directions, philosophy, many directions, the Petrarch's humanism. So in many directions, things are moving in the times of Renaissance. So these people become courageous. Now they started thinking about, they started venturing into quarters which are hitherto untouched before. So that actually gives a major push. So that gave a push. Though this incident with Galileo happened, it was not stopped at that point. People started talking about these things later. And you might know that later in the last century, Church apologized for the Galileo incident, and they later corrected their stance. And today, as a matter of fact, the Christian Church is supposed to be one of the most progressive religious churches who are actually even approving evolution too. Where many other religions are not really approving evolution, churches approve. But that time, of course, probably it could be an error in judgment by that Pope at that point. And then actually Kepler, this gentleman, he had rich data of Tycho Brahe with him. So Kepler actually, see, that is what happened. The same information, when another person looks, he can find out certain very important things. So when Kepler looked at this data of this Tycho Brahe, I understood a very important thing. He understood that the distance between Earth and Sun is not uniform throughout the year. Okay, so and if during some part of the year we are closer to the Sun. Closer means not by a huge means, okay, but in kilometer terms it is huge. But compared to that size, it is not that huge. But it is getting much closer, and during some other time, it is not that close. But he was not able to explain why, but he told this is happening. Okay. Now this means what? This means people were thinking like this, all the planets are rotating, revolving in perfect circles. So he established that once he took Earth's data, then he took the data of one more planet, then he extrapolated. So he's the person who told that the path of Earth and planets around the Sun is not circle, it is actually elliptical. Elliptical. So ellipse means it's a circle bit elongated. If you give like egg it is, shape of egg. If you take a circle and plummet it, then that is what is called an ellipse. Okay. So the importance of ellipse means ellipse has two centers. Ellipse will have two centers. Circle has only one center, right? Ellipse has two centers. Ellipse has two centers. So Sun is in one of the centers, other center Kali. So what happens is in this kind of movement, during some part, we come close. Actually, the same is the way in which Moon also happens. Moon comes sometimes close to Earth, sometimes far from Earth. That is why during certain positions, we have the phenomenon called supermoon and all because of that. Sometimes, sometimes the so-called Paurnami, the full moon, and this phenomenon of coming closer, when that happens together, that is when supermoon happens. Supermoon. Okay. So this is how this is what an ellipse is. If you look at it. So the shape of an ellipse like this. This ellipse means this is like fully too much elliptical, like a circle you hit on top. You see this. So we measure it with a figure called eccentricity. Eccentric. You see that word itself in English, thoda theta, that eccentric, not perfect circle, so that is where it comes. So this is too much eccentric. So then this eccentricity reduces, you see. So circle is actually one form of an ellipse with no eccentricity. So ellipse has two centers, two focus. One focus here, one focus here, one here, one here, one here. But when it comes to circle, both the focus comes into one point. So the circle is a special form of ellipse. Okay. So this was one of his findings. Okay, and that was revolutionary. We could explain so many things with that. And Earth's eccentricity is very less. You see 0.01 is something like that, which means you are something very close to this. Otherwise, if our eccentricity was like this, life would not have existed. See, if our eccentricity was this much, means sun would have been here. And then during some part of the year, we would have got burned. Okay, and then many people misunderstand by telling summer and winter are happening because of this thing. The sun is coming closer, that is why summer happening. Actually, that is not the case. Well, it affects a bit, but in the large scheme of things, this eccentricity is very minimal. So it doesn't affect us in a big manner. But it explains so many other things. Get that? Okay. So all the planets, okay, almost all the planets are elliptical. So this he got from the data. Same data Tycho Brahe had actually. Same data he had. But that is what I'm telling. Another person comes and looks at it with a different perspective. You come with gems. And another observation which he came was a bit tricky. He observed that the speed of Earth is not same throughout the year. He told speed of the Earth is not same throughout the year. Sometime Earth is going faster, means revolving around the sun faster, and sometime it is becoming slower. And he found out when it is becoming slower. He told when you are away from the sun, because it is an ellipse, sometime you will be away. See this, don't take this literally, okay. We don't have this much elliptical stuff. Sun is not this close. If it is this close, we would have been Gayab by now. It is slightly off the center. But the time when the Earth is away from the sun, Earth is becoming slower. And when Earth is getting closer to the sun, Earth is becoming faster. Okay. But then how he expressed it is in a mathematical way. I will tell that if you don't understand, also don't bother too much. Okay. So mathematically, how he explained is actually assuming sun is the center, assuming the Earth is moving, all the distance between all these positions, assume this are 30 days, constant. From here 30 days, here 30 days, after 30 days here, after 30 days here, like that. Assume these are 30 days. That means you are dividing the whole year into 12. Assume like that. So now what happens? In 30 days here, you will travel less distance. When you are away from sun, in this 30 days, you travel less distance. And in this 30 days, you travel more distance. Again, not this much difference, but just to show, when you are closer to the sun in this 30 days, you will travel more distance. So he told if you make this as triangles, from the sun you draw like this, like this, like this, like this. So he mentioned that the area of all these triangles will be the same. Area of all these triangles will be the same. Why it is same? Actually, area of this triangle should be more, because you see this length is more, so its side is more. So this is not perfect triangle. This is there is slightly an arc. So this length is more. So this triangle's area should be more, but this distance traveled is less. Here actually this side is less, but then you have traveled more distance. So both will compensate. So that is, so mathematically that is how he expressed. So that is what he calls law of equal areas. Okay, but what it means is Earth travels faster when you are closer to the sun. This was his second observation. Okay, and his third observation, okay, don't read that, it is his third observation was this, that a planet that is closer to the sun rotates faster, revolves faster. You see Mercury speed is 47 kilometers per second, revolution speed. You have to understand Earth's speed, okay? Earth's speed of revolution is close to 30 kilometers per second. The Earth is rotating on its own axis, that is around half kilometer per second. But revolution around sun is 30 kilometers per second. So if you tell one, Sujit reaches from Kantivali to say maybe Bandra. He tells two, he is Colaba. He tells three, he is in sea. No, 1 second, 30 kilometers. That's the speed of revolution. Okay. So when it comes to like Uranus, Neptune and all, it is 5 kilometers per second. Of course, it is faster. 5 kilometers per second is also faster. But compared to here, it is slowing down. So these are the three observations which Kepler came up with, but he couldn't explain why this is happening. Later, Newton came and told all three are happening because of the same reason. All three are happening because of same reason, and this is from where Newton developed his laws of motion. And that is from where we developed the entire further science. Whatever we see today, the car, cycle, this thing, everything. So you see where from it comes. A guy called, in Arabian science, he makes some tables by his naked eye. From there, Copernicus takes something and he postulates that telling probably sun is the center of the universe. And then from there, Galileo, somebody makes a telescope, Galileo makes it advanced and he finds out certain things and he proves by telling you can see different phases of Venus. From there, actually, Kepler gets Tycho Brahe does lots of astronomical observations and he puts together his things and advances. From there, Kepler gets his thing, he makes some observation, but he doesn't know why it happens. And then came this polymath called Newton. So in different parts of the time, different polymaths comes, you see. So we tell Leonardo da Vinci is a polymath. So we tell Aristotle is a polymath. So we tell Archimedes is a polymath. So at this time, this guy called Newton comes, right? And he comes and he tells all these three are happening because of the same reason, which will come in the next session. Okay, right? So, do you know, like, what was the conclusion, Newton's conclusion, why these are happening, why Earth is becoming faster when you come closer to sun, and why planets are becoming slower when are away from sun?
Gravity.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, right. So he told all these three are happening. There is a phenomenon called gravity, and he derived the equations of gravity from this data. So,
But
yeah.
how did they imagine कि ऐसा भी कुछ हो सकता है? मतलब there was no like और कुछ instrument भी नहीं था ना उनके पास. They were just observing it. तो सिर्फ observation के ऊपर they how okay, of course like we know Newton's law, but then It came later, ना तो सोचा
या
नहीं
या
उसके बारे में.
या सोचा कैसे तो उसको ही पूछना पड़ेगा मीन्स अभी तो बात ये है कि he got data. That's the thing. So Tycho Brahe had data. The same data when Kepler looked at it, he came up with another kind of observation. And Newton's brilliance is, I will come to that a bit in the next session. Some thoughts about how he came there. Some thoughts, some interesting thoughts. You see the point. Look at the point. What is the point? We are telling Aristotelian thought was that if anything has to move, you have to apply force. So if you have to prove that Earth is rotating, somebody is pushing Earth. Who could that be? So the entire thought was in that direction. Okay? And then Newton comes and tells that, boss, that is also possible if you slightly change the law of force, that you don't need a force to move. That is that Hatke thinking. Right? Actually speaking, that thought came from Galileo. Actually, I'll show you in the next session. The initial thoughts, what led to this, it came from Galileo. And how he came with that, see, you can't tell. Abhi aisa socha hoga exactly, but if you look at the whole sort of things, according to me personally, if you ask me what I feel is could be the sequence of events kind of stuff, actually it came from Galileo. So Galileo क्या करता था? Galileo को he has to conduct experiments. अभी ये सब करने के लिए अभी moon ये लेके थोड़ी experiment कर सकते हैं. So the problem in school is that people they will take a stone and tell, okay, this is stone, this is ball. If you apply a force, this will happen. Actually, it has nothing to do with what is happening in Earth. These people were bothered about what is happening there. And to simplify that, you tell some experiment by telling, okay, if you hit a ball, this happens. But unfortunately, people will tell by thinking by telling, if anything has to move, we think, oh, this is Earth. If something has to move, you need force, na. Otherwise, how can car move? है क्या नहीं हमारा उसमें पड़ी है अरे यार if some force नहीं है तो कार कैसे पार्क करेगा रात को we get into that kind of stuff but this is about space. This whole business is in space. Okay, there is no friction, no rules. Okay, so actually what happens is Galileo will come with a concept. Galileo will come with an important concept called inertia. Okay, so that actually turns the tide. So he has to conduct this experiment. Kaise karega experiment? So people tell that Galileo went to the Tower of Pisa and dropped 2 balls. That is the story, right? That is the myth. Okay, most probably it's a myth. I don't think it happened. But he did one thing. He created an inclined plane with a carpenter with a very smooth groove, so that friction nahi hai. It's like inclined plane. Inclined plane matlab aisa. It's a long plane bana hai. ठीक है? And then he started dropping balls, goalie. One goalie, it will fall. And niche he kept a bowl of water. Because time calculate करने के लिए इतना short time to calculate, you don't have precision instruments. So he kept water full. This will come and fall in this. How much water is spilled out? It gives an indication of the speed it attains. And then he puts next ball. Okay, different weight, same size, different mass. So the predominant thought was that heavy ball will drop first. That was predominant thought. Heavy ball, because that was Aristotelian thought. There was that. Yeah.
This is the same Archimedes principle.
No. Same Archimedes principle means that ball part is okay. Ball part ka water spilling, some part is okay, but that is the mass of it. But this is calculating the speed, momentum, how much force it is, right?
Okay.
So yeah, he did that inclined this thing, and he, to his surprise, he observed that you drop any ball of any mass, it reaches same time. So people to for you to understand easily, they are telling from Pissa's inclined stuff. If you put a 1 kg and 50 kg, both will drop at same time. This is just for you to visualize. But actually, he did
But
like
that
this.
distance is not a matter of like the distance from that point to the water. It's not matter. It
It
didn't
will,
matter.
it will not matter. If you fall from the top of a building and a fat guy falls, both will fall at the same
Hmm.
time.
Okay.
So we'll come to that sense of with Toda Katake. So we'll come, no, it's then, like we'll come to that in the next session. So that is how he put together. Actually, Galileo gave it on a platter. ऐसा बना के inertia का concept. Actually, the first law of Newton is actually Galileo's. He has done almost, and second law का half is Galileo had done. But then Newton उसके बाद कुछ काम किया on top of it. That is remarkable. It's very remarkable. He's very strong in maths, physics, chemistry, light. Dunia भर का चीज में he is very strong. So that is what we call as polymath. So we'll come to that in the next session. Yeah, Arun.
About the orbit in elliptical form. It is due to gravity. So why it should be elliptical? It should be perfectly circle, right?
Yeah. Actually, yeah. Actually, there are reasons. Actually, there are reasons why only elliptical orbit can sustain. There are reasons why only elliptical orbit can sustain. It's a more maths than physics. So Newton, after this class, I will send you that proof of that as this the first Kepler's law. It's more of a math why it can sustain only when it is in ellipse. Mathematically, it is not possible for a circle to. I'll put to that. Yeah. Okay, I have to go. I have another class. It's a day I have to start. Yeah. Yeah. Next week. Omkar, Vani, bye. Martha sir.